forward to this. All right, so today is June the 12th, and I am very excited that tonight AG Secure Property Management has teamed up with Valerie of Function inForm. Uh, Function inForm is a design company here in Barrie that specializes in secondary suites, garden suites, as well as just finishing basements or general design on properties. But tonight's conversation, obviously, as a property management company, is going to be focused on secondary suites. Val's going to be great and go into some detail, but what we're going to focus more on is why you want to make sure you're registering your secondary suites, and what's happening now in a lot of the townships and new building codes and everything like that. So Val's got a ton of information. We are going to put this together on YouTube, as I mentioned, and we will put it out to our client base. I think afterwards, Val, you might even send us some links to a few of the townships' different application processes and whatnot, so that people who are curious can look at just how daunting that task is when it comes to the paperwork. I want to do a quick disclaimer before we go too far into here. Sometimes there's questions that come up. I know in our previous conversations with the accountant and the lawyer, those got very specific, and I want to make sure that what we're saying is the advice here is very general in nature. If you have something specific, that is the opportunity to reach out to Val, connect with Val, and go over that. Or you can follow up with myself, Rob Silverman, or Hannah about your property that we may be managing, or one that you could be purchasing to manage going forward. And we can connect you with the right people, take advantage of the connections that we already have for you. So Val, I want to introduce you first and foremost. You're with Function inForm. You own the company. Your most important role in life: passionate mother of two, an amazing grandmother of one that I know of. You are, correct me if I'm wrong, love sailing.
Yes,
Sailing and snorkeling, or
scuba diving.
scuba diving. So your son is also a stock car racer here in Barrie.
Yes, at Sunset Speedway.
Yeah, so obviously the adventure sport type family there. Val studied interior design at Georgian College. She has also worked in the new home construction side of things, not only in design components, but also within the administration. So she has a good understanding of the whole, sort of process that goes on from handling administration right through to design, because that's her history. She's done work with a number of the clients for AG Secure Property Management, some with legalizing units, some with redesigning properties that they're purchasing, and the feedback has been great. Currently, if I understand correct, Val, you've completed over 100 projects in the design area. So obviously, you've got a bit of experience under your plate here, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. And thank you for giving us your time tonight. I'm going to hand it over to you so you can jump in. I would suggest, though, if people have questions, put your hand up. Val will be happy to answer those questions. If you don't know how to put your hand up, usually you can go to the bottom of your screen and you can go to, I'm just looking for it now because online I don't see it immediately. I'm going to figure that out and I'm going to come back to you. I think it's no, under React. Sorry, if you see React, you'll see a section that says raise hand. You raise your hand and go from there. And Val, I'm going to try and interfere a lot of times and ask a few questions yourself to probe some more information. So I'll hand it over to you, Val, and away you go.
Thanks so much, Rob. Well, it's an absolute honor to be in front of you today. I appreciate taking the time to attend, and I hope you gain some insights into the requirements and some of the processes of legalizing additional dwelling units. Thank you to all the guests that came today, and a special shout out to several past clients and B&I colleagues who are here in support. Finally, I would really like to thank Rob Hilton at AG Secure Property Management for giving us all the opportunity to grow. Rob, your commitment and contribution to your clients and to our surrounding communities is outstanding and deserves that recognition. So thank you. So the front first slide's basically an introduction to both of us. My contact information is on this slide if you want to take a picture, or you can always email me as well, and or Rob, and we will give it to you afterwards as well. Just 1 second. So there are quite a few problems related to non-registered dwelling units. Um, Non-registered dwelling units can potentially decrease your property value. Uh, it can also uh, it can also deny your insurance claims. It can promote some liability for you homeowners. There may be a lack of municipal control and services. And what that means is, for example, Barry's got a new garbage and waste disposal program coming in September. We're all getting new garbage carts. If a non-registered unit is in existence, they will not get garbage carts, and this will happen to your property on garbage day. Also, there's a big risk of municipal enforcement, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Some of the safety concerns, these dwelling units are usually built without permits, so they're not inspected during the construction phase. And what that means is, as a homeowner, you hire a contractor without a permit, and the contractor starts to go to work in, say, your basement. And all of a sudden, 2 months down the road, it's finished. Well, you don't know what's happened within the process of him starting and finishing. So some requirements are met, and some of them may not be met. And so you are unaware of where things are safe and when things aren't safe and when things are built correctly and where they're not built correctly. There may be insufficient fire and smoke barriers and insufficient daylighting, maybe insufficient HVAC and ventilation concerns. Basically, these are unverified to be safe on so many levels. Many municipalities in this vicinity have established task force which intend to get more non-conforming suites flagged and dealt with. They're scanning real estate ads for wording and photos for these units. Bylaw officers are taking notes and hints while they're in neighborhoods on other business, and they review them in the municipal database to see which homes are actually registered units and which are not. Then they flag them. And we'll be discussing what happens when they flag them a little bit later in the presentation.
Well, just while you're there, so what we're saying is there are legal and not legal secondary suites, correct? And a not legal means that it doesn't technically mean that it doesn't meet all the building code requirements. What it does mean is nobody has independently validated that. And realistically, you don't do all the work at all that cost without registering it, because what's the point of doing all that work? So what people have to understand, and I think Val's pointed out, and we did it in a newsletter last year, the city of Barrie is now switching from bags at the corner to these, for people who aren't in Barrie. You may already have it in your community, but to these large bins that they don't have to get out and pick up the garbage, that they have forks that literally come out of the garbage truck, pick it up, dump the bin. And if you do not have a registered second suite or third suite, those units are not going to receive bins, and the city's not going to pick up the garbage, and you're going to have a mess sitting at the side of the property. Those bins also include recycling bins and green bins. Every registered unit will get them, but if they're not registered, you won't get them. And the next thing that you know is your tenant will call the city and say, I didn't get my bin. And the city will say, we're going to come out and talk to you. And the next thing you know, when they show up to talk, basically what they're doing is confirming that there is a non-registered second suite in the unit. And all of a sudden, you as the owner are going to receive a legal notice from the city of an infraction and a requirement to comply. The other thing I did want to say with that one, Val, is that the city will have very specific rules, and the landlord tenant board will not recognize the authority of the city if if your tenant is in a fixed lease requirement. So the landlord tenant board will not order an eviction until such time as that fixed lease requirement date is over, which means that the city may tell you you have 30 days to have the tenant out or comply, but you may have 8 months left of the tenant living in there, and you have no way to actually enforce an eviction on them, because you've basically made a commitment that that space is available for them. So those are some concerns that we have. And I know it's happening in Barrie now. Aurelia has done some things with garbage tags in the past. All the communities are trying to clamp down on this. Thanks, Val.
And thanks for expanding on the liability to homeowners because if you have to evict tenants and the landlord, you don't have the support of the landlord tenant board, it's a possibility these tenants can sue you. So, okay. So, what happens when the bylaw officers do come a knocking? Well, initially you get a warning. And what that looks like is a little door knocker on your door, and it's handwritten, and it basically says to contact the city. And well, if you forget to contact the city because the little notice gets lost in the new recycling bin, uh, all of a sudden you get a notice to comply, and it is a very demanding letter. It gets posted on your front door for all of the people walking by, driving by, your tenants, everybody sees it. It's got lots of highlights and capital letters, and it contains a lot of really demanding language. Um, Basically, if you don't pay attention to this, you get potential fines and hearings. And if you don't comply, you're forced to evict your tenants, according to the city's deadline, not to your deadline and not to your lease. As of January 1st, the new building code came out. The 2024 building code harmonizes with the Canadian building code, and we as designers are up to date. We must use the building code as of March 31st, this new one. And so I have in my hands the new building code, 2 volumes, a lot of stuff to go over. One of the things about a non-conforming suite is your contractor probably didn't spend the $300 to get one of these. And again, there's lots of things that they may not be aware of that they think they know, and that they possibly don't know. And there's so many requirements. It's actually insane. And municipalities are like snowflakes, and they go above and beyond what the building code says sometimes. And so, as designers and as local designers, we are aware of these things, of the little nuances for each municipality, and we're able to include them in our designs. Function Inform specializes in designing the legal conforming dwelling units. I provide informative consultations, and what that means is if you have a problem, invite me over, let me see the property, and let me give you some of the things and a lot of the things that may need to happen in order to make whatever you have existing into a legal secondary suite. I do a site measure, and then I provide a permit-ready drawing package. And what that means is I go through everything to make sure your drawings are going to pass for your permit. And if the city, wherever you live, if they have any small revisions that I have to make, that I missed or whatever, it's all included in that package price. And but I usually can get your permit within 6 weeks, even with the city of Barrie. I can do administration of the permit process. And what that means is I can apply for your permit on your behalf. I can be your liaison between you and the city. I can apply for your minor variance if it's required. I can organize other third-party professionals, such as a structural engineer if we need it, someone who can do your HVAC design, or perhaps a surveyor if you need a lot grading plan. Oh, said that one already. And finally, I can help either with project management or your contractor selection.
Val, I'm just going to ask you to hold those two books up once again, if you don't mind. I, I want to draw everyone's attention. Municipalities are great at making political statements around developing affordable housing, and how they're all on board with creating great affordable housing opportunities within communities. I know historically Mississauga and even Barrie really were saying one thing but doing something else. They were not making it easy to create these secondary suites. They really didn't want them in their community because people will complain about the rental properties beside them, and it basically changes some of the outlook. The municipality themselves hold very strong, if I'm not mistaken, Val, to the building code. It's actually a requirement. And the building code is, for them, a huge tool that actually stops people from registering their secondary suites, because to do something proper and effective as to building code, it is not cheap. You heard Val earlier talk about daylight in a room. There are actual requirements that certain rooms have certain amount of daylights. There are requirements that bedrooms have windows of certain openings. Requirements on older houses in particular is to bring certain aspects of the new unit into current building code, which when you get into electrical and plumbing could be quite difficult and quite expensive, where you may have an older unit that has three interconnected smoke carbon monoxide detectors. As soon as you add that new unit must have the new hardwired flashing smoke carbon indicators, and they have to be in every bedroom. The building code itself is built to try and make the safest possible dwellings for when something negative happens, i.e., a fire. They are trying to prevent those, from any mass damage or mass casualty of life. But this is what the municipality hangs their hat on when they're doing this. And trust me, the inspectors use this almost to justify finding problems with any single rental, and justify why inspectors must have a job, because they must find something wrong so that it can be fixed before it can be approved. That's my experience, at least. But Val, I wanted to mention that because that book, if you're not in the field, that book is two books is daunting. And I do know a number of contractors, and they've never really paid attention to it to begin with.
And I'd also like to point out that a lot of most municipalities in Ontario invite homeowners to produce these drawings, in their own minds. And this is where hiring a designer like myself comes in very handy, because that would take a typical homeowner a very long time. They would submit and they would forget, I don't know, probably 50% of the things that have to go on the drawing. So hiring a designer like me to do your drawings on your behalf is a really smart idea. It saves you money and time and frustration. So what is all involved in getting a building permit? Well, once you hire me, I come and do an entire house site measure, and that includes all levels of the home, all sizes of your windows, hallways, and closets, the ceiling heights in every room. It includes a property measurement so that I can produce a site plan. Uh, so in the drawing package, obviously a site plan is required. Here's your full set of existing drawings, each and every floor. And then a full set of proposed floor plans. So wherever construction is happening in the home, which includes all the new smoke alarms that are required, all levels have to be drawn. And then if I have to increase the size of an opening, for instance, for an egress window, I have to produce an elevation of that whole side of the building. Now, if I have to increase 2 or 3 windows on different sides, I have to do an elevation for each one of those sides as well. I also do a OBC, which is the Ontario Building Code Life Safety Analysis for your daylighting and your room sizes. And I also do OBC notations, so what's required in a secondary suite or a triplex, if that's the case. And finally, I do a list of partitions, including the ceilings and all the walls, and what needs to go in those for every new construction item. And then we're ready to apply for the permit. So to submit a permit in the city of Barrie, we have to produce a secondary suite checklist, which is basically a checklist that I go through to make sure everything's on the drawings that the city of Barrie requires. And we have to do an applicable law checklist, which is 3 pages long. The homeowner has to sign that. And then we do the Schedule 1. And what's important about the Schedule 1 is this is claiming responsibility, liability, and everything else for the design. And most of what I do, the homeowner can sign the Schedule 1, claiming responsibility for the design because there's no structural, in my case, there is no structural components being disturbed in an existing building that has already been passed. But if we do need a structural engineer or someone with a BCIN, which, for what I do generally isn't required, I do have colleagues in my pocket to get this done for you. And finally, we submit the application online with the municipality with the applicable fees. Some of the other possibilities that may be required by your municipality, a zoning application, a minor variance application, and what that is it's an application to go to the Committee of Adjustment to basically settle things that are in the setbacks of your property. Lots of times entrances are created at the side of homes and the walkways are within the setback of the property line, which is each property line has a setback. So your neighbor has one and you have one. And so this is basically a meeting of the town and any of the neighbors might attend as well. It's a public meeting. I can attend those. I can attend the meetings on your behalf and I can prepare all the documents for that as well. You may need an HVAC design. Now, an HVAC contractor is not the same as an HVAC designer. That means more drawings. And like I mentioned before, you may need a structural review from an engineer. Again, that's more drawings. And finally, especially if you do an entrance at the side of your house in the city of Barrie, they're going to require you have a lot grading plan as well. More drawings.
So Val, my understanding from talking to a lot of people that have gone through this project, the city gives you all this to complete and they tell you everything. They're not really, for lack of better, I guess I'd say they're not in the customer service field where they want to help you with this, correct? They do not, they basically want to say, this is what you need to do. If it meets it, we'll approve it because liability we can take on at that point. But they don't like to recommend or suggest or do anything because at the end of the day, they don't want any liability to fall on them that's not theirs. Am I correct in that?
Yes, that's very correct. I believe that's why the city of Barrie has become so stringent and uh, and enforceful on illegal dwelling units. They've had fires where a firefighter has actually lost their life because of an unsafe dwelling unit, and he could not get out with all of his equipment on. So unfortunately, he passed away, and I'm sure the city has been sued in that regard.
Well, and I know
Um,
if you go back about 12 years ago, we had the fire at Five Points, and that was a much older building down in the downtown core. And the one thing they said is so many renovations had been done and there was no documentation to it that when the fire department went in, not only did they not know where they were going, but they did not know what was behind walls.
or
Uh,
how many people were in the building.
so obviously, it's important. What I will tell people too is that there are things when you're talking with someone like Val that are really important to talk about. If you're going to go ahead and put in a secondary suite, this is when you're spending the money. If it makes sense, this is where you should be talking to Val or somebody like Val about does it make sense at this point to separate the hydrometers? You've already got things opened up by putting in separate hydrometers, you can effectively put those hydrometers on the side of the house and move utilities to the tenant for hydro. Gas is not as simple, and neither is water. The city doesn't like to take water and put it into multiples. They try and keep it to one water meter per a dwelling. But hydro is one, and my partner and I would always tell you, please do not put two hydrometers on a duplex, put three, because we tend to forget that there is common elements, which is the gas and the water heater, and possibly some outdoor lighting. run off their own hydro. If you put those onto a tenant's account and they don't pay the bill, and the city comes or the provider shuts off the power, the next thing you know, you've got your other tenants saying, I don't have heat, and you've got a whole other issue on your hands. So these are the questions that people should be asking with the designer, and like Rob and myself, from a property management standpoint, what do I need to do to make sure this is done to the most effective? But again, this is the chance sort of where everybody wants to get the things that they don't control out of their hands and in the tenant's hands. So a utility option is there. This is probably the best time to do it if you're ever going to do it. And then Val can, of course, make sure that the proper drawings are done up for that as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rob. So what are some of the social benefits of a registered dwelling unit? And registered meaning we've gotten a permit, the city's inspected it, and the city's passed it for occupancy. Well, they're always within existing structures, which means we don't have to build the whole thing from scratch. Obviously, a municipal permit is required. It saves on property allocations. For instance, the Old Barry Raceway has been purchased to make high rises. So building secondary suites in existing buildings does save on things like borrowing some land from Oro or from Springwater for more housing. And it reduces environmental impacts as well.
What, you didn't put it on the telly?
Some of the benefits to you as homeowners, it will increase the property value of your house if you put in a registered secondary suite. And it increases your buying power if you're an investor. And Rob, can you comment on the rental values that happen with a registered suite as opposed to a non-registered suite?
Well, first and foremost, your quality tenants actually now can go online with the city of Barrie and find out if a unit's registered or not. So not all municipalities have hit that level of information, but we've literally have heard of cases where people are calling and saying, "Oh, this one's not legally registered." Or somebody who's been booted out and is saying, "Is it legally registered?" And we're able to actually point them to the City of Barrie website where they can look it up and get that comfort. The rent, usually we're not getting as quality a rent for it because we're kind of getting a little bit of flexibility in there with the owner, because they know they're sort of not following the rules of what should be done. But where we have seen it most critical, and I can talk about one that we managed back in 2012, where the lower tenant was booted out of the unit because it was not legally registered. The upper tenant then had functional use of the whole house at the rent that they rented the upstairs unit for. And the lower level unit, the owner has just decided again this year to issue an N13 to actually evict the upper tenant so that they can go in and do the proper construction. So we're talking 13 years later. That was lost money because they were reported. A lot of people don't realize there are common times when they get reported. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're running a bad rental house, but it is not uncommon for a realtor when they're listing your house for sale to look at the couple in the neighborhood and say that one over there is a rental and it's not registered, and they will report it to the city so that they can kind of clear that stigma that comes beside living with a rental property next door to you. And again, we talked about the garbage. That's an issue. We have seen it where fire or medical safety try to show up and they don't know where they're going. So all those things are flags and whatnot, and they do affect your cash flow. From an investment standpoint, if you have an illegal second suite, a non-registered secondary suite, the bank will not consider that income towards your financing requirements on the property. So if a property is renting, an upper for 2,300 and a lower for 1,800, you're generating $4,100 a month in rent. So you're approaching $5,000 or $50,000 a year. that could finance itself at 20 times. The bank would do that. If it's not registered, they will not take that into consideration. So you're stuck with that. Also, you'll find when you go to resell it, I'm not a real estate agent, but they typically sell for less because they
Profit.
don't have the value and run that risk moving forward.
The designer always anything that you don't know, they know, and they will.
Is it possible to mute yourself, Brian?
Sorry, Brian, were you asking a specific question here that I missed?
Sorry.
Brian, were you asking a question? We just heard you there. You weren't on mute, so I'm not sure if there was a question or a comment you were making that we missed, or you were relaying a message. Okay.
No, I got.
Okay. So another benefit to homeowners is if you register your secondary suite, you have security status with the municipality. And it doesn't matter really what your neighbors call about or how many times they call to try to flag the suite. It is secure. It is registered with the city, and they can't really do anything about it not being registered. Again, you get your city services. If the city knows how many people are in a neighborhood, how many people are in a house, then for instance, the fire department knows there's a secondary suite. We have to find people in the basement. If there's a fire, they add buses to or to neighborhoods that have more people, and the garbage situation as well. Most of all, these are safe spaces, and homeowners and investors alike can sleep better at night knowing that their tenants are safe.
I think what's important to note, the city also, why do they want them legalized? And we've talked about safety, and I would hope that safety is the paramount reason within any municipality. The other one is tax dollars. Let's just be realistic. The municipality wants to make money wherever the municipality can make money. We have to understand that in a community, if you take just a simple, 2 or 3 block radius in North Barrie where it was all single family homes, and you add 10% of those become duplexes, that's 10% more garbage than they were planning to pick up in that neighborhood. That's 10% more water demand, 10% more sewer demand, 10% more students going to schools, 10% more people using buses. For the city, it's very, very important for them, A, that they generate the revenue because they're being stuck with a lot of the cost there. But B, by being aware what the population density change is, they can change services accordingly. And I know it sounds sort of silly. Oh, I'm just adding one garbage can. But when you take a look at the city of Barrie and we're talking, a population of 140,000, imagine just a 10% increase of 14,000, how many garbage cans that is. So they do, in fairness to them, they have to deal with that. They're going to have to deal with it with population change no matter what. But, basically at the end of the day, they're trying to stop it from being something that people are running under. The other thing I wanted to note, I know that Nicole was on here earlier. Nicole is a paralegal that we work with, and I did not prep her that I was going to call on her to talk about this. So if Nicole, don't feel you have to. If you're busy eating dinner, I know you had it ready when you sat down. Professional tenants look for places they can hold landlords hostage. Professional
Absolutely.
tenants look to take advantage of landlords. It can be in how you write your advertising, where you say certain things that go against the Ontario Human Rights Code. It can also be when you are renting out an illegal secondary suite. It is not uncommon to hear a tenant, you hear conversations with landlords that we're taking on all the time. Well, my tenant said they're going to report me to the city because my unit's not legal. Yeah, they've got you. And they're going to report you. And what can you do about it? Nothing. Get the unit legalized. Do it the right way. So again, Nicole, you've probably seen it more than I have. But the professional tenants actually look for those non-registered units because they know it's just another level of power that they can have over the landlord if something goes sideways.
That's absolutely correct. They do prey on like the new landlords, and again, they go through the ads, make sure they pick out, like you had mentioned, the human rights code. So if you're advertising no children, no pets, no this, they pry on those people. There was also another one that I had in my mind that like new landlords, they can pick those out too, based on your ads.
I was going to say just the fact that our advertising carries the AG Secure Property Management logo, the professional tenants already know that they're going to go through a screening process. It's not that they're not going to try it; it's that there are much easier targets to try. So that's what you want to be aware of. So when Val talks about the risks, yes, there's the financial risk, yes, there's this, that, or the other thing, but there is the risk of a professional tenant who is looking for just one more ounce of leverage that they can hold over a landlord. So that's something to be aware of.
100%. That's certainly part of the homeowner's liability. Again, they can be sued.
And Nicole, I've always said my red hotline to our paralegal is one of our greatest strengths. So thanks for answering that call.
Anytime.
So, for the home investors, some of the terms that you can be aware of when you're looking for another investment property, you want to make sure you are looking at ads that have the ones on the left, the description of a legal duplex or a legal triplex, legally conforming suite, or registered secondary suite. You can obviously check up on those things, for instance, in the city of Barrie. But right in the ad, I don't think the real estate agents can actually lie about these phrases, or manipulate, selling the house when it has these phrases. However, in some instances, you'll see things like in-law suite, potential income suite, obviously not a registered suite because it's potentially an income suite, multi-generational living space. This is very common right now because of the housing crisis, and our adult children are finding it really difficult to pay rent and buy their own house. This is a great way to actually house your children. However, anything with a full set of cooking facilities, in addition to the one kitchen in a single dwelling, is non-conforming. So a wet bar with a microwave is okay, but anything with a stove, a full stove and range, things like that, it's not going to be okay by the city standpoint. Other notations might be a nanny suite or a separate apartment. Again, these are a little bit of a red flag, and if you want to buy that property, make sure you have the money set aside to make this space a safe space and a conforming space and registerable with the city.
So Val, on that note, yes, if a real estate agent is using those terms on the left-hand side, those are a legal requirement. It would be false advertising, and there's opportunity there. But your agent, if you are in the process of purchasing, should be able to go and actually ask for the certificate of legalization or go to the municipality to confirm, and that should actually be a condition that is in any purchase of a unit where they are identifying it as legal. Is proof of legalization should be in there. What I did want to say, Val, there's a price tag that comes with this. Is there an average nowadays on what it takes to finish a secondary suite in a one or a two bedroom unit in a lower level of
100K.
100K, and that includes basically standard finishing and all the material, but also the permits. And what's the permit cost alone? Do you have a rough idea?
So that's a hard question to answer. It's by square footage. So you submit a permit, now it costs you $20 automatically. And then your permit documents are reviewed, and they get checked by a human to verify the square footage of construction, and they charge accordingly. I would say around 1,500 to 2,500 for the permit fees alone. That doesn't include the drawing package or third-party things like HVAC designs and things like that. That's quite a bit more. Lot grading plans are 2,500. And that's if you have a topographical survey, and if you don't, then you have to have one of those first.
The price tag keeps going up. A couple things I did want to sort of include in there. Reality is this is the fastest way that any municipality is going to increase housing because it is so much faster than new construction and all that. It's also the most affordable way. For those individuals who are even considering this, some things you might want to consider. The municipality of Barrie, and I believe almost all municipalities, have programs in place to help with financing. I think the city of Barrie, it's like 25 years over a 10-year. They've got a great program if you're going to do something for affordable housing.
If I may interrupt, that's for all of Simcoe County, that grant.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Now, affordable housing, a lot of people think, well, that means somebody who's living on the street and they're not necessarily comfortable with that. Some places that actually works, retired individuals on a pension. It could be somebody who has a disability. It could even be, and people should be thinking about this, it could be a family member. You may
Mhm.
have a family member who functionally it can live on their own, but really you're not comfortable with them moving out because of a disability. And but they want to have their own private space. They may qualify as an affordable housing candidate, and as such, you can still get that government assistance, which on $100,000 bill, that's $25,000. That's 25%. And my understanding is it's repaid over 10 years. And as long as you keep the unit as affordable, every year they waive $2,500 off the repayment fee. So that is something that is potential. The other thing,
There's also a family tax rebate from the province of Ontario. I believe it's up to $7,000 off of the HST for the materials you purchase and the services you purchase to build the space if it's for a family member.
and all of these are considered capital expenditures on a property, so they would be that those expenditures would be transferable to such time as when you sold the property and were subject to capital gains. The other thing I wanted to mention is this realistically is probably the way of the future for most individuals that are buying their first time home. Secondary suites. One of the nice things is if you move into the upper level or the lower level, your income is what gets you your financing. But if it has a registered second suite, the income from that registered second suite is actually considered as part of your income. And mortgage brokers can help you with setting that up so that the file of a first time home buyer actually shows that additional income and can increase their purchasing power with the banks and their chances of being approved. That's something to consider about. And for other individuals who may be on a relatively fixed income later in life, that additional income could cover the gap in inflation costs and lack of pension. So secondary suites are definitely picking up energy. You've heard now that in the city of Barrie, they're now allowing garden suites or accessory dwelling units, and they're allowing triplexes even now to
Mhm.
possibly add a fourth unit, I believe it is. Correct, Val? So
Yes, up to 4 units.
they're definitely looking at increasing the intensity. Hopefully, some of the things they do is look at other bylaws that go with it, i.e., a single family home can have 3 dogs, but if you have 4 dwellings, you could now have 12 dogs on a property. So you can imagine the nightmare that could cause. I will tell you, as the property managers, we always love registered secondary suites. It takes that whole fear out of us that the city will get involved. So we love working with secondary suites. Did anybody have any questions for Val at this time? I want to open up the floor because we really haven't had any. I'll open up the floor, and if you have any questions, great. If not, I'll let. I think this was the last slide, correct, Val? Did you have?
I just have the one more, just on my
Okay.
other services and things.
Let's see if
That's
there's
all.
any questions at this point in case
Yep.
anyone's got them. And if not, I did want to ask one, Val. If I'm looking at buying a property that I want to convert to a secondary suite, When's the right time to call you? Is it while I'm in the buying process? Is it after I've purchased the property? When's the right time to get you involved, and why?
Well, I think it would be best when you're going to look at the property. If you show an interest in the property before you put in an offer, there are viewing times when you can go visit the property, and I can basically come in and give you a consultation on the things that need to be done in order to create a registered secondary suite, whether there be a finished basement there or it be unfinished, or splitting up parts of the house. Does the yard have enough room for a garden suite? And with all the setbacks and everything, things like that. So if a person is interested in the property, the real estate agent can call me up and ask me to come and take a look during one of your visitations to the property. I do charge a fee for that, but if you hire me to do the drawings, then I give you that fee back.
So take a little bite of the bullet before you take a big bite.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, sorry about that, Val. Any other questions? Anyone? Okay, I'll let you go on then, Val.
Fantastic. So I'm an interior designer, and so other things I can help with are plans for a finished basement. Again, I have a client currently that has an illegal secondary suite in their basement. They've been flagged by the city, and they don't want to have to afford $100,000 before they sell the house to fix this problem. So now we're making plans for a finished basement instead. I create spaces for your family members. If you need an extra bedroom, or an extra space for family members, garden suite for your in-laws, I can help with that as well. I redesign kitchens and washrooms, and I love to do man caves and she sheds, and I also do color and finish consultations as well. I've included some links there for some of the grants and opportunities from the government to help you with these projects. And my final blurb in closing is, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional to help you plan and design any construction project, wait to see how much it costs you if you don't.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Val. Again, if anyone has a question, please jump in now. As I mentioned, we will be putting this video on YouTube so that people can rewatch, look it over again, or access it for the first time. And if you want to connect directly with Val, you can contact myself, Rob Silverman, or Hannah Boudreau, and we'll make sure to get you in contact with Val for any questions, concerns that you have. And Nicole's chirping in there. Thank you so much, Val and Rob, and amazing job. So I appreciate the information, Val, and more importantly, I appreciate the fact that you gave up your time to provide our clients with this information. Obviously, putting the presentation together and committing your time tonight to spend with us is of great value for us, and I just want to extend my thanks for doing that tonight.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to do so. I was quite honored when you asked, so thank you.
Okay. If no other questions, guys, we're going to wrap up tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. This will be our last information night for the summer. We're putting together a slate of information nights to come on board starting in September of next year. We look forward to your feedback of what type of information you'd like us to bring to the table so that we're covering off your questions, your concerns, and what interests you most. Again, any questions or concerns, do not hesitate. Give us a call. We look forward to talking to you shortly. Thanks, folks.
Thanks, everyone.